Hello, CP Bio students, for yet another exhilarating and exciting set of notes, this time on organic chemistry featuring me as your narrator. Get ready to learn. As we can see here, and you should already know, cells are majority water. 70-95% is the actual chemical compound breakdown. However, the rest is made up of carbon-based compounds. And when you hear carbon, carbon means organic. Not like the grocery store. Different term for organic. These other elements are commonly include CHNOPS, schnapps. That stands for hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen, sulfur, carbon. Or in that way, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. What's happening down here in these pictures is pretty simple. You see here's a bunch of foods that we eat, and our foods contain a lot of these elements, especially carbon. Everything that was living at one time contains carbon. Over here you see the chemical compounds, and they're linked together. These long chain compounds give us energy. That's the significance of these pictures. The study of carbon compounds is known as organic chemistry. It focuses on any compound with carbon. Like I said before, if things were alive at one time, they contain carbon. Containing carbon is also known as a carbon organic compound. And organic compounds can range from simple molecules such as glucose, which is C6H12O6, to huge, enormous starches and proteins that are broken down by your body for constant energy throughout the day. You must remember glucose as C6H12O6. You must. Just like ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, just like DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, just like autotroph and heterotroph definitions along with eukaryote and prokaryote. If you learn anything this year, this is one of those things that you have to learn. Glucose, C6H12O6. Because carbon is so versatile, meaning it can bond with lots of different stuff, it can form lots of different items. For example, here, you've got our skeleton system, which contains carbon in it. You've got some of our foods down here that also contain carbon in it. You ever heard of carbon-14 dating? If you find an old skull or an old bone, you can date it to see how old it is because it contains carbon. It's pretty cool. Carbon has a total of 6 total electrons. A carbon atom has 2 in the first shell and 4 in the second shell. Remember, you can fill the first shell with 2 and the second shell can hold up to 8. So the second shell is only half full for the carbon atom, meaning carbon wants to fill that outer shell electrons. Those are called valence shells. Okay, carbon has little tendency to form ionic bonds by losing or gaining 4 electrons, but it certainly wants to fill it or share it by making covalent bonds. So one of the videos we're going to watch references carbon as a hussy or a tramp, meaning carbon wants to bond with as many possible things as it can to make these huge, long molecules. All right, what you see here is different ways to write the chemical formula of certain substances. CH4 is methane, and the molecular formula is CH4. Here is what's called the structural formula. There's a C, and it's bonded 4 different times because it can fill its outer shell electrons with 4 bonds with 4 different H's. All right, and you can see that this carbon here, 1, 2, 3, and bonded again to another carbon. It's 4 bonds. This carbon here, 1, 2, 3, bonded to the carbon, 4 bonds. And you see this carbon here, 1, 2, and these 2 lines represent a double bond. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 bonds. See the theme here? Carbon loves to bond. Remember that the valence shell electrons are those outer level electrons, and they're responsible for forming the bonds that create many things in life for us. That valence shell wants to fill to 8. So if it's missing 1, it's going to have 1 bond. If it's missing 4, it can bond to 4. So that's usually how you can tell how many things it will bond with, depending upon how many electrons are in that valence shell. And you should know valence shells or the outer shell because we all did Bohr models already earlier in the year. And here are some different ways that carbon forms different types of chains or carbon skeletons. Now, when these come up, you should sketch these down along with writing the information. Okay, the skeletons may vary in length and may be set up as follows. 1, straight. So you should sketch this down there. The H's and the C's, the whole bit. All right, H, C, C, C. You'll notice that each C, 1, 2, 3, 4 bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll have 4 bonds in there. That's classified as straight, that one, because it looks like a straight line. This one is branched. This one here is branched, looks like a T. This one here is a closed ring. Looks just like a closed ring. Sketch those down, include all the bonds, make sure you get the double bonds in here, and you'll see that each C, 1, 2, 3, 4, has 4 bonds. That is the key. Most organic molecules are polymers. A hydrocarbon are organic molecules that consist of only C and H atoms, carbon and hydrogen. These are the major components of gasoline. Oil is a fossil fuel because it consists of decomposed remains of organisms that lived millions of years ago, hence the name fossils. We take that oil and we use it for fuel. Fats have long hydrocarbon tails attached to a non-hydrocarbon glycerol. You can see the example here of fat droplets in stained blood here. And if you can remember that gasoline is a huge hydrocarbon which gives lots and lots of energy when it's broken apart. Okay, now there's something called a polymer. And that's a polymer consists of many similar or identical building blocks linked by covalent bonds. All right, so poly means many, so many bonds. The repeated units are small molecules called monomers. Mono is singular, mono meaning one. Cells join small organic molecules, small meaning the monomers, together to form molecules of polymers. So polymers are many monomers together. That should make sense to you. Mono is one, poly is many. Over here, this singular molecule has one total. Over here, 1, 2, 3. Poly many, mono one. Pay attention now. This part's really important. Really, really important. Monomers are connected by covalent bonds via a dehydration reaction. This is on the keystone every year, just like I'm going to show you. All right? A dehydration reaction means one monomer provides an OH group, which is oxygen and hydrogen, and the other provides a hydrogen atom. Together, they form water. The removal of these atoms allows the monomers to connect, meaning if you remove an OH and an H, and if you put those together, it's H2O. Wherever the H2O is removed is where the monomers will bond. Take a look here. You've got a polymer with 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just numbered with 1, 2, 3. We've got an OH at the end here. We've got an H here. We've got an OH here. We've got an H there. We take out the HO. We take out the H. Hence H2O right here. There's nothing here now. This monomer bonds with this polymer. It's called dehydration reaction because if you lose water, you become dehydrated. You have to remember this. You got to know this. It's going to be on the Keystone test in multiple ways. It's going to be on our quiz too. It's dehydration reaction or dehydration synthesis. Okay, now look, you just learned dehydration synthesis. The opposite of dehydration is hydrolysis, kind of like being hydrated. So opposite of dehydration synthesis is called hydrolysis. So what happens in this reaction is pretty much the opposite of what happened in the other one. A water molecule must be split into OH and H in order to separate the polymer. So this is the polymer that was joined from our dehydration synthesis reaction on the previous slide. If you don't remember, go look at it. Okay? Pause me and go look at it. Now when we want to break it apart, hydrolysis is used, meaning water is added here. These now separate into a monomer and a polymer with an H on one side and an OH on the other. And if you add them together, there's two H's and an O, hence H2O. So therefore it's hydrolysis, water being added. OH bonds to one monomer, the H bonds to the other. Hydrolysis reactions help in the digestive process of breaking down foods. Well, that's going to be it for this set of notes, folks. Make sure you understand glucose, C6H12O6. Make sure you understand dehydration synthesis and hydrolysis. Make sure you understand polymers and monomers. This is really important stuff here. Come back and let me know how well it was.